everyone. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Music Street. Music Street is a really fun story that everyone loves in my class, but it also helps us to understand the way the different notes in music that we sing fit together on the music staff. So we're going to tell our fun story and show how it helps us to put music on the staff, to put the notes on the staff. So here we go. Once upon a time, there was a really neat neighborhood that had 8 different lots for sale. And the neat thing about this neighborhood is that it's on a big hill. So if you moved in at the top of the hill, you'd have lots of fun coasting on your bike in the summer and spring and fall, and you would have fun sledding down the hill when the roads were closed and it was a big snow. So it would be fun to live near the top, but then at the bottom, the builder who was going to put all the houses in the neighborhood decided he wanted this to be a really fun neighborhood, so he left this empty field open at the bottom with no houses on it so that everyone in the neighborhood could play team games. And to help the neighbors out with this, he already built a scoreboard. And the scoreboard, he already named the teams. And the teams had kind of funny names to us. You know, we would pick things like Wildcats or Lancers or, you know, some real heroic fighting names. Well, the builder in this neighborhood picked the names Line, and Space. So, when the neighborhood fills up and there are people ready to play team games, they'll either be on the Line team or the Space team. Now remember how I told you that this story is going to help us understand how our notes fit on the staff? Well, the reason that the builder picked such silly seeming names for these teams is because if you notice the music staff, it is made up of lines, and in between the lines are the spaces. So the notes will either be on the lines or they'll be on the spaces. So that's how we get the Line team and the Space team. So there we go. So we're all set up, and now we need somebody to build a house. So our first person to build a house was a man named Mr. So. And Mr. So had been dreaming about his dream house ever since he was a lot younger. He drew pictures of it and thought about what it was going to be like. And finally he grew up enough to have enough money to build and buy a house. And so Mr. So had to decide, since he's first, where does he want to live? Does he want to be closer to the top so he can have all that fun going down the hill? Or does he want to be closer to the field so that he can get there and be team captain and pick all of his friends to be on his team? That was a tough one for Mr. So. So Mr. So did a compromise. The word compromise means that you kind of go halfway. You do a little of each. So Mr. So decided that he was going to move in on the middle of Music Street. Let's see, we'll put him right here. Okay, now I don't have 8 for sale signs, so I just put 2 up there because it's all I have. But there are 8 places, and today we're going to talk about 5 of them. Okay, so we're going to talk about 5 different houses and people that moved in on Music Street. So now we have Mr. So. He's got his beautiful dream house. Everything's going along great, except that he notices that he's kind of lonely. I mean, there's nobody to play team games with. And even though he can have fun going down the hill, there's nobody to do it with. So he convinces his best friend to move into Music Street too. And his best friend's name is Mr. Me. Now, they are best friends, but Mr. So has some big dogs. And Mr. Me loves dogs, but he's really allergic to the dogs. And they, you know, if you have allergies, you know what that's like. You're sneezing and your eyes are watering and your face gets red and it's just miserable. So Mr. Me decides that he wants to be near Mr. So, but not right next door, because he doesn't want to run into those dogs all the time when he goes outside. So Mr. Me decides he's going to move down the hill a little bit from Mr. So. So he's going to skip 1 yard, and he's going to move in right here. You know, I think I'm going to have to move these up just a little bit because I am going to run out of space for all the people that are going to move in. All right, so we have Mr. So and Mr. Me. Now, even though Mr. Me can't be right next door to Mr. So, once they get a chance to play team games, they want to be on the same team because they're best friends. So, that is a good thing about Mr. So and Mr. Me being, there being a yard in between them. Because on Music Street, if you're next door neighbors, you will never be on the same team. So this works out great. So whenever they play team games, Mr. So and Mr. Me are always going to be on the same team. Now, the interesting thing about talking about the so's and me's in music is that they are not always on the same team in every song. They can be on, sometimes Mr. So and Me can be on the line team together, and other times Mr. So and Me can be on the space team together. But the thing to remember is that because of where they live, because there's 1 yard in between them, they're always going to be on the same team. So, and let me show you why this is, because of the way that it fits on our music staff. If you notice that the pattern is line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space, line. And I never said line, line. And I never said space, space. So the pattern is always that there's one team and then the other team and then the first team again. So this is why if Mr. So, let's say that Mr. So is on this middle line here. Just like on Music Street, we have to skip a yard. So we have to skip this space. And Mr. Me will be on the line right below Mr. So's line. So they're on the same team. Now, so in the other songs, Mr. So might be on a space. We could really pick any space. I'm going to put him up here. So if Mr. So is on this space, remember we have to skip a yard, and then we go to the next place of the same team. So Mr. Me would be on this space. So there we have So, and there we have Me, and we have, when somebody moves in, we're going to have a note on the other, or a person on the other team in between them. So when we have So and Me in music class, there's a lot of songs that we sing and games that we sing to practice our So's and Me's. And also we have some sign language for our people on our Music Street. So Mr. So, whenever we sing Mr. So in a song, we're going to make our hand like this. And whenever we sing Mr. Me in a song, we're going to make our hand like this. So the way that So and Me sound together is like this. So, me, so, me. You can probably already think of some songs that have those sounds in them, right? One of them you might think of, this one most people know, even if they're not in my music class. Most everybody knows the song, Rain, Rain, Go Away, right? And there's a game that we play in my music class called Doggy Doggy that starts with so's and me, all so's and me's, and it goes like this. Doggy, doggy, where's your bone? Right? And we have a bone, and it's a guessing game, and it's lots of fun, and we get to practice singing our so's and me's. Now I'm also going to take like a card that has each of the names on it, so you can see which notes and which people are higher and lower and what order they go in. So I'm going to take my So card and I'm going to put it in this. Sometimes I call this a ladder because it has different steps going up. So Mr. So is right there on my ladder. And I have to skip a space, just like I did on Music Street, and just like I did on the staff. And I'm going to put me, after skipping a space, I'm going to put me right there. So now we have so, me, so, me. All right? So now we have so and me, and they are on the same team. Well, that's not very fair, is it, if they're going to play games? Well, fortunately, another person is interested in moving in. And this time we have a lady. And her name is Mrs. La. Doesn't she have a pretty house? Well, she's going to have a pretty house once it gets built, right? So Mrs. La, she kind of liked the idea of living up closer to the top. But she didn't want to be lonely all by herself. She wanted to have a neighbor. So Mrs. La picked the yard one higher on the hill than Mr. So. So here she goes. She'll move in right where that for sale sign is. Whoops. Got to have my magnet. There we go. There we have Mrs. La. Now, do you remember what I told you about the teams? Do you remember how I said next door neighbors, they're not on the same team? You have to skip a yard if you want to be on the same team. So can you guess what team Mrs. La is going to be on? We can't always put her on the line team, and we can't always put her on the space team, just like we can't put So and me. We can't just keep them on one team, because depending on what song it is, they might move around. The thing we have to remember is So and me are always on the same team, and Mrs. La is always going to be on the other team. So instead of putting line and space, I'm going to write same and other. Okay, so same team and other team. And so far, on the same team, we have So and we have me. And on the other team, we have La. And I'll write her just a little bit higher so that we can see she's higher, and then Mr. So, and then Mr. Me. So these guys are on the same team. Mrs. La will be on the other team. Well, that's not very fair yet, is it? I have to warn you that this story is not going to be fair with the teams. Even till we get all 5. You have to get all 8 in order for it to be fair. But we're not going to get that far quite yet today. Anyway, so we have So and me on the same team. We have La on the other team. Oh, and I better put La up here so you can see where she fits. See, she's a next door neighbor. Right next door. And on the ladder, she's next door, so she doesn't skip any steps. And you can see that she's higher than Mr. So. Now, if we put So, me, and La on the staff, on the music staff, let's see. Let's do an example where Mr. So starts out on the line team. Okay? So let's put him down here right now, Because really, somebody has to tell you where the first one is. And then once somebody tells you the first one, then you can figure out all the rest. So here's Mr. So for this example. Mr. Me then, if you remember the story and how everything works, Mr. Me is also going to be on the line team. Oh, and by the way, when a note is on the line in music, it means that the line goes through the middle of the circle. It's different than when you sign your name on the line, you're putting your name a little bit above the line. But on music, again, when a note is on the line goes through the middle of the note. Isn't that crazy how that's different than, when we're reading and writing? But that's how it works. So anyway, so we'll say Mr. So is on the line team, which automatically we know all kinds of other stuff, right? We know that Mr. Me is going to be one line. Well, Mr. Me is going to be on the line team. He's going to be one line below Mr. So. So there's our Mr. Me note. And now we know, because of our story, we know where Mrs. La goes too, right? We know that she's not on the line team, which means she has to be on the space team, right? And she's next door neighbors, one up from Mr. So. So if this is Mr. So's line, maybe I'll move him over for now. I'll move him over so you can see kind of right next door where Mrs. La goes. So here's me. So is one line up from me. And then Mrs. La is on the space team. And her space touches Mr. La's line. Just like their yards touch each other, right? So Mrs. La wouldn't be on any old space. She couldn't be up there. She couldn't be down there. She has to be the very next door neighbor space up from where Mr. So's note goes. So there we have So, Me, and La. All right? Now the songs that we sing, let's see. One of the fun songs that we sing in my class, we play a game with it. And it's called Lucy Locket. And it's a passing game. We pass this little pocket around, and the students have to guess. Let's see, how does it go? Oh no, it's not a guessing game, it's a chasing game. So whoever, it's kind of like Duck, Duck, Goose, where whoever the person who's it drops the pocket behind somebody's back at the end of the song. And the person who gets the pocket has to chase them back to their spot. So it's a fun game. I wish we could play together, but we can't be together yet. But anyway, so to sing that song, we're going to sing So, So, and here's our hand sign for La. It's just, you make a cup with your hand upside down. So, 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 La, La, So, So, Me, Me. And that's the basic melody for Lucy Locket. So, how about I'll sing the words first with the hand signs, and then I'll sing the music syllables that we sing. So here's the song. Lucy Locket lost her pocket, Kitty Fisher found it. Not a penny was there in it, only ribbon round it. And there goes the chase. All right, so now let me sing it with our music syllables. So, so, la, la, so, so, me, me, so, so, la, la, so, me, so, so, la, la, so, so, me, me, so, so, la, la, so, me. And there you go. Okay, so there's our so's, me's, and la's, the teams and where they fit on the music staff, and of course our favorite, the houses on Music Street. Well, we need some more people to buy some houses, don't we? Well, I'm not gonna make it fair yet. The next person who's gonna move in, his name, yep, it's another boy, and his name is Mr. Doe. Now, eventually, Do is going to have 2 houses on Music Street. He's that important. But for now, his first house, he's going to move in at the bottom of the street, right by the scoreboard. So we're going to put Mr. Do right down here. So that's where Mr. Do moves in. And let me take my for sale sign here, and I'm going to put it here. Because there is 1 yard in between Mr. Do and Mr. Me. Now, from what I told you before, you might be able to guess what team Mr. Do is on. Because we skipped a yard. He's not a next door neighbor, but we skipped 1 yard. Can you guess? Well, I hope you guessed that Mr. Do is on the same team as Mr. Me and Mr. So. So it's not fair, is it, for our sports teams yet? Nope, not fair at all. But this is how it works. This is the order that we go in. So we've got So, Me, and Do now. All on the same team. And Mrs. La is the only one on the other team. She needs a friend, doesn't she? She sure does. All right, well, it'll come. Anyway, so let me put Mr. Do on the ladder too, so we can see it in lots of different ways. Now take a look at this. There's a pattern, isn't there? Do, Me, and So. They're all on the same team, and each of them have to skip a yard to get to the next one. Huh. So that's an interesting pattern, isn't it? Well, that's how it works on the staff too. So let's start with Mr. Do this time. Let's say that Mr. Do is on this bottom space. All right, well, if we skip a yard, just 1 yard, and we go to the next yard, and it's on the same team, right? So space, we skip the line, because that's the next yard, and we go up to the next space, and that'll be Mr. Me. So here's Do, here's Me, and then to get to So, we skip again. We have to skip this line, and we go to the space, which is also on the same team. See that? So we have Do, Me, and So. Kind of like tic-tac-toe, like 3 in a row, isn't it? Except that we do skip those lines in between. But it looks kind of like tic-tac-toe, right? All right. And yeah, so we've got Do, Me, and So, 3 in a row, all on the space team for this example. But you might also have them on the line team. It just depends on the song that you're singing and where the teacher or the person who wrote the song decides what team they're going to be on. So they could be on the space team. Let's put, whoops, looks like my magnet's falling apart. Let me get a different one. Whoops, it fell down. Okay, anyway, so let's put Mr. Do up here. We'll put him on this middle line. If he's there, you skip. Same team, that would be Me, right? You skip a yard, same team, that would be So. Do, Me, So, right? And now when we sing our songs though, we can mix up the notes. We don't always have to go in order. So we could, for example, have Do, then we move over for the next note. We could have So. We could move over and put a Me in there, and move over again and put a So. Do, So, Me, So. We could do that. So really you can use the notes as often as you want when you're singing or writing a song. You just have to put them in the right space or in the right position as far as the ups and downs go, and as far as what team they're on. So anyway, now we have Mr. Do, so how about some songs that have do in them? Let's see, here's one. This one, we sometimes, before we even knew about So Me and Do, we would play a clapping game, like a patty cake game, to the song called Peas Porridge Hot. And that song has So Me and Do in it. It goes like this. Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. All right, and so here is how, let's see, I'll sing the words again with the hand signs, and I forgot to show you that the do hand sign looks like this. So here's la, so, me, and do. All right, let me sing Peas Porridge Hot. Here it is. Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. All right, and now I'll do it with our syllable names, so the music names of those notes. So, me, so, so, me, so, so, me, so, me, do. So there you go. So that's peas porridge hot, and we've got all of our syllables and where they go and everything. Now here's another song that has all these notes in it, and it even has la in it. So it's got la, so, me, and do. And my second graders learned this as a game, and it was a lot of fun. It's a really fun song, and it's a really fun game. And it goes like this. Past one window, tidy-o. Past 2 windows, tidy-o. Past 3 windows, tidy-o. Jingle at the window, tidy-o. And the syllables are me, so, la, me, so, me, so, la, me, do, me, so, la, me, so, me, so, la, me, do. So there's our tidy-o song using all of the notes that we've got. All right, so moving on. Now it is time for our 5th and last person to move in that we're going to do today. And that last person is another lady. So finally, Mrs. La has a friend for her team. And that is going to be Mrs. Ray. Now, we've got a bunch of places where Mrs. Ray could still move in, but she kind of wants to be near all the other people. Mrs. Ray decides that she's going to build her house in between Mr. Do and Mr. Me. So now we can put our for sale sign up here because we still have 2 more slots up at the top. All right, so we've got La, So, Me, Ray, Do. So, Me, and Do are on the same team. And La and Mrs. Ray now is on the same team, isn't she? She can't be with Do and Me because she's next door to both of them. So she has to be on the other team. So she would be right here. So I'm going to put her just so you can see up and down where she belongs. Because not only do we read across the page in music, but we also have to read up and down. So you can see that Mrs. La is 1 up from Mr. So. And you can see that Mrs. Ray is 1 down from Mr. Me and 1 up from Mr. Do. Just like she is on Music Street. And I can also put her on the ladder. So there's lots of different ways that we can see how all these notes work. All right, and finally, let's put them all on the staff. So let's start with a line. Well, I'll give you a line team example, and Well, a line team example with Mr. Doe, where he belongs. And then I'll give you a Mr. Doe being on the space team. So why don't we just go for the bottom, since now we have so many. We'll put Mr. Doe on the bottom line. Mrs. Ray is on the other team, right? And she's next door, up one from Mr. Doe. So Mrs. Ray goes there. Mr. Me, same team as Mr. Doe, so he's got to be on the line team. And he's the next door neighbor to Mrs. Ray, one up. And then we have to skip a yard, don't we? So Mrs. Ray, she needs somebody to move in here so she'll have another person on her team, doesn't she? But for now we don't know that. But we're going to skip that and go to the line team, which is where Mr. So is. So now we have So on the line, Me on the line, and Doe on the line. 3 lines in a row, right? We have Mrs. Ray on the other team. In this case, it's the space in between Doe and Me. And then we have Mrs. La on the other team, next door and up from Mr. So. So there we go. We have Do, Re, Mi, So, La. So that's what we've got there. Now, if we chose to put them on the space team, I don't have enough of these kind of note magnets to leave that there, so I'm going to have to take it down. But remember the shape of this. You see how that goes? It's kind of 3 in a row, and you skip 1 and then 2. You're going to see the same shape of the notes, even if we change teams for everybody. So watch this. Now, so here, Do, Me, and So are on the line team. So in this next example, we're going to put them on the space team. So here we go. Here's Do. Skip 1, same team up, Me. Skip 1, same team up, So. Mrs. Ray's on the other team, in between Do and Me. So there she goes on the line with the line going through it. And then Mrs. La is next door neighbor to So, 1 up. Other team. Notice it's the same shape because when we sing it, it sounds the same, whether they're on the line team or the space team. So there you go. There's our story. And I do have a song that has all of these notes in it. I haven't gotten to this song. It's a game or a folk dance. I haven't gotten to this song in any of my classes yet this year because we didn't get to finish the year out together. But anyway, here's how it goes. Great big house in New Orleans, 40 stories high. Every room that I went in was filled with pumpkin pie. And I'll show you the syllables while I sing it. Great big house in New Orleans, 40 stories high. Every room that I went in was filled with pumpkin pie. All right, or I could show you on here. Let's see, can you see me pointing? Maybe I'll stand right over here. All right, here we go, starting on Me. Great big house in New Orleans, 40 stories high. Every room that I went in was filled with pumpkin pie. Me so so la, me so so, me so so la, me re. Me so so la, me so so, me so me re do do. So there you go. And did you notice, I'm sure you can see, that there are 5 different notes that we just learned today? Well, there is a word that you can put at the front. It's called a prefix, and it means 5, and that word is penta. And there's another word called tonic, which means note. So if you say pentatonic, it means 5 notes. So we have just learned what we call in music a pentatonic scale. A scale is a group of notes. So here we've learned a group of notes, and there are 5 different ones. So the pentatonic scale. So there you go, boys and girls. We have Music Street, we have the pentatonic scale, we talked about the teams, and who's next door to who, and who's on the same team, and who's on the other team. So I hope you had fun listening to this story, and I can't wait till we can be together to sing some songs and play some games and use all of our new stuff that we learned. Thanks. Have a great day.